Change can happen, but it takes time.
Ask yourself, if not me, who? If not now, when?
I am HeForShe.
I am HeForShe.
Je soutiens HeForShe.
Je suis HeForShe.
Io supporto HeForShe.
I am HeForShe.
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 I have decided to be a HeForShe.
I am HeForShe.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Trevor Noah.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Trevor Noah, and it is my profound pleasure to welcome you to this special event to mark the second-year anniversary of UN Women's HeForShe initiative. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guests who have joined us here today, and to colleagues and the general public who are joining us live via webcast from around the world. Tonight is a night of stories and storytelling. These are stories about the global movement to achieve gender equality and the people who are committed to seeing it happen. In 2014, HeForShe was launched with a rallying call for men and boys to become advocates for gender equality. UN Goodwill Ambassador Emma Watson, who is here with us tonight, shared her own story of how gender labels and constraints had affected her and people that she loves. Her stirring words resonated with people far and wide, and millions, both men and women, came forward and said that they felt the same way or had similar experiences. Men and boys around the world, indeed in every country, not only identified with her remarks, but they responded. Within 2 days, 100,000 men and boys came forward and made a commitment on the HeForShe website. Social media lit up with comments, shares, tweets, and more stories. Ultimately, and this is really impressive, there were more than 1.2 billion social media conversations. The idea that gender inequality and imbalance was hurting us all definitely hit a nerve. And it has become very clear that many of us, regardless of gender or any other label, want equal rights and opportunities for all. Tonight, you will hear directly from some of the people who have responded to that call. It's a night of stories, but not just stories. Tonight is about inspiration and action. These, ladies and gentlemen, are the people who are changing the world. So let's give them a round of applause. I was genuinely excited and honored to be invited to host this event. Even though it was an era, they said they needed someone who lives in America who is half black, half white with African blood, and Barack Obama somehow missed out on that. But I will still take the place. Before giving the floor over to our opening speaker, I would like to acknowledge our three co-hosts for the evening, who are all here and HeForShe Impact Champions. The President of Finland, His Excellency Sauli Niinistö. Bob Moritz, Chairman of PricewaterhouseCoopers International Limited. And the President of Stony Brook University, Samuel L. Stanley, Jr. Thank you all for making tonight possible. For those of you who don't know Impact Champions, and you'll be seeing a number of them tonight, Impact Champions are a group of 30 individuals, heads of states, CEOs, and university presidents who are changing the world in their own way. They are visionary leaders who have committed to changing and creating change within their own spheres of influence as part of the HeForShe Impact 10 by 10 by 10 initiative. Each Impact Champion has made 3 concrete commitments designed to bring better conditions, outcomes, and opportunities for all. I would now like to hand the floor over to our first speaker, the First Lady of New York City, Ms. Chirlane McCray, who will be giving us welcoming remarks. So please, join me in welcoming to the stage Ms. McCray.
Thank you, Trevor. Hello, everyone. Hello. It's a great honor to welcome all of you to New York City. And I can't think of a better place for this gathering than the Museum of Modern Art. one of the world's great monuments to forward thinkers who have the audacity to look at the world from a fresh angle and the courage to share their vision with the world. Tonight, we celebrate the 1.1 million visionaries who have officially signed on to HeForShe. Now that is an incredible number for a movement that is only 2 years old, but we need to keep pushing hard if we're going to achieve our ultimate target number, a 50-50 world. As both a poet and a proud member of the HeForShe Coalition, I firmly believe there is no better way to win new allies than by sharing our stories, which is why I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share one of mine. Now, my father never considered himself a feminist, or at least I never heard him say so. In almost every way, he was old school, a strong, mostly silent World War II veteran who liked to say that he graduated from the school of hard knocks and the college of the streets. But when it came to parenting his 3 daughters, my father was way ahead of his time. He taught me and my 2 sisters how to swing a baseball bat, how to cross the monkey bars, how to play ping pong. And I have to tell you, when it came to ping pong or table tennis, my sisters and I were so good. Nobody could take us. Nobody in our extended family could win. Because my father just didn't teach us how to play. He taught us to compete and to win. Now, does that make him a feminist? Does that make him a woke brother? I don't know. Does it make him a HeForShe? I think so. I think so. Because I just know that he would be tremendously proud of everything the de Blasio administration is doing in New York City to make sure his granddaughter and his grandson can do anything and be anyone they want to be. Now, for instance, we've created the city's very first Commission on Gender Equity, which I am proud to lead. Because if we're going to change, yes, you can clap for that. If we're going to change the way New Yorkers think about this issue, we need to harness the full power of city government. We're requiring some of our largest city agencies to make lactation rooms available to members of the public. Because as a society, we can't just talk a big game about how much we value motherhood. We need to start backing it up. We mandated that all city government facilities provide bathroom access to people consistent with their gender identity, because everyone should be free to be themselves, their true selves in the bathroom, in the workplace, in the streets, everywhere. And I'm proud to say that we were the very first U.S. city to join the United Nations Safe Cities Global Initiative and commit to keeping all of our public spaces free from sexual harassment. Because no one should have to live in fear of physical or emotional violence. Our goal is to engage all 8.5 million New Yorkers in the story of how our city became a paragon of gender equity, a city of we for she. So thank you all, and thank you for supporting us in this movement.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for Ms. McCrae, please. Officially the friendliest New Yorker I have ever met. Thank you, Ms. McCrae, for welcoming our audience, people from all around the world, to this great city. It is now my pleasure to invite our keynote speaker and host for this evening, an impact champion, the President of Finland, His Excellency Sauli Niinistö.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, or is it just hello? I joined HeForShe in springtime 2015, but although my decision was spurred by a slight feeling of embarrassment. How come we still live in a world where something self-evident, namely that women and men, all born, are equal, is still an issue? We should not need a movement like this in the 21st century. Yet, here we are. A change is clearly still needed, and achieving that, ladies and gentlemen, it is up to us. In my country, Finland, gender equality has been a core value for more than a century. In 1906, Finnish women became the first in the world to have unrestricted rights both to vote and to stand for parliament. It was a revolution by law, and it led to revolutionary outcomes. During the past century, Finland has achieved independence and risen from poverty to become one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Gender equality has been crucial to our success. Empowering women and girls is, of course, the right thing to do, but it is also a simple recipe for success. And it is not a secret recipe, but one that I'm more than happy to share with you. Equal access to free, high-quality education has been instrumental in empowering Finnish women. This, in turn, has facilitated a high full-time female labor force participation. National child and family policies have been crucial for parents' ability to combine work and family lives. Also, attitudes have changed. There is no longer a clear division of men's and women's tasks. Men participate in the household work and set new role models to their sons and daughters. Finns broke the ultimate class ceiling in politics at the turn of the millennium when my predecessor, Lady Tarja Halonen, was elected President of the Republic by popular vote. I think, Tarja, you're something here. Actually, during those 12 years of her office, I've heard that children started to ask their parents whether it is possible to elect also a man as a Finnish president. Well, they got one, but I'm not so sure how satisfied they are with that. I'm proud to say that Finnish women have shattered class ceilings also at the UN. In 1972, a very well-known Finn called Helvi Sipilä became the first woman to become United Nations Assistant Secretary General. And today we are seeing big cracks even higher up, as many excellent women are running for UN Secretary General. Ladies and gentlemen, she's and he's. Finland may have achieved a great deal, but a lot of work remains to be done. Finnish women, as do women everywhere, still face challenges. We need equality in wages and more women in leadership positions. We also need to eliminate domestic violence. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Finnish Defence Forces, I'm proud to announce that all conscripts, mostly young men, undergo training on anger management and prevention of violence in close relationships as part of their military service. I'm also committed to the realization of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, as well as to promoting women's economic leadership, especially by combating gender stereotypes. I'm proud to be a HeForShe Impact Champion and happy to see so many like-minded people here tonight. I applaud the work done by the youth HeForShe advocates gathered here today. I encourage you to continue your work. I'm honored to stand with all of you, over 1 billion individuals who have heard the call globally. Tonight is about celebrating the success and achievements of HeForShe, but also about laying the foundation for future advances. We still have a lot of work in front of us. I want to end by returning to one of the trailblazers already mentioned, namely Helvi Sipilä. When she was born in 1915, equal opportunities were but a dream. But she made her dreams come true. I urge you all to follow her example. Dream big. Because, as Helvi said, the impossible can be made possible. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. President, for your visionary leadership. Truly fantastic and powerful speech about how much work is still to be done, but also celebrating how much has been achieved. So one more time, please, ladies and gentlemen. Now, unfortunately, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, cannot be with us tonight, but we were lucky enough to have him send us a brief message via video.
Good evening to everyone gathered at this second anniversary of HeForShe. Thank you all, activists, global leaders, entertainment superstars, business leaders, for making HeForShe a global movement. I'm always proud to tell people that I was the very first HeForShe, the first man to join this campaign for women's and girls' rights. I'm proud now to see the movement flourishing. The men and boys, women and girls working on HeForShe are reaching every corner of the globe. You are changing attitudes, minds, and policies. You are raising awareness and funds, sometimes in the face of strong opposition. HeForShe activists are not just a part of this movement. You are this movement. Keep doing what you have been doing. I'll stand by you all the way. The time for equal rights has come. The voices of change are yours and mine. Thank you, and I wish you a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, what has moved people about HeForShe is that it takes an inclusive approach to gender by recognizing that it affects all people. Our next speaker, Edgar Ramirez, is a renowned actor, thought leader, and UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. And he'll tell us more about that. You may have seen him in movies like Point Break or Joy, but if not, you can catch him in the currently playing Hands of Stone and the upcoming Girl on the Train. So please, welcome to the stage, Mr. Edgar Ramirez.
Good evening. His Excellency, President of Finland, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. It is my honor and pleasure to be here tonight as part of this HeForShe second-year anniversary. And it's a huge pleasure because personally it is a real special night for me. Some of you may know me as an actor, but one of my early career ambitions was to be a diplomat or a politician. So I'm definitely getting to live my second dream tonight. I'd like to begin my remarks by posing a question. What does it mean to be human? I know, this is a big question, and I'm sure we all have our own ideas, but I'd like to share my perspective. During my university days, I was attracted to a number of different fields. To name a few, politics, sociology, journalism, and acting. I ultimately became a journalist and then an actor. At first sight, they might seem very dissimilar from each other, but looking back, I see a common thread that connected them. A profound fascination with the human condition. I wanted and still want to better understand humanity, what motivates us, what inspires us, what makes us do the things we do. By pursuing acting, I might have chosen the most poetic among these disciplines, but each of them offers a piece of the truth and partly answers the question, what does it mean to be human? I'm able to discover this truth by exploring the nature of my characters and their contradictions. When I approach a role, it is often first with the eye of a journalist. I begin by documenting as much as possible the historical context of the character, the spirit of its time, the events surrounding his life. If my character is based on a real person, which I've done plenty, I hold interviews wherever possible by posing questions to someone I'm cast to play, or to a family member, or to a close friend, or someone who can provide me with a sense of his public perception. I get the first insights into my character's humanity. But as an actor, I must go even deeper. I have to go to the core of my character's feelings. To give an honest performance, I have to fully establish empathy. Acting is nothing but an act of empathy. I have to get inside their emotions and feel what they feel. And through this process, one of the things that I'm reminded of over and over is that all people feel, and they feel deeply. And all people struggle with those feelings because feelings inherently exist in contradiction. This is part of what it means to be human. Our feelings and our contradictions are as human as our blood and our bones. And in the same way that we struggle with our internal contradictions, our society struggles with its own. For instance, how does a being, a person, who feels so deeply, as we all do, thrive in a culture that discourages feelings? That is a reality. And it is the reality for many people around the world, and particularly acute for men and boys. And I know it well because I was one of those boys. In the macho-normative culture that pervades much of the world, little boys are told not to cry. They're taught to suppress their fear or turn it into anger. Male adolescents are given the message that their role is to dominate, and that studying art or music or drama is somehow not masculine. Cultural messages about masculinity often involve being tough and disrespecting women. As boys grow into men, they're told that being a man means having power over someone or being incredibly successful and earning lots of money. Men are taught that if we are not the ultimate provider, then we are a complete failure. We have to be number one in everything we do. There's nothing more delusional or more paralyzing than what I just described. As a student of the human condition and a man in a macho-normative culture, I've seen firsthand that this paradigm sets many men and boys up for failure. To be taught there are sadness and fear, anguish and grief, the very things that make us human. Our feelings are shameful. To be encouraged to suppress our humanity and conform to socially accepted views of what it means to be a man. to absorb in our skin a version of success that is burdensome, unnatural, and excessively competitive. These distortions come with grave consequences for men, women, and societies as a whole. When men lack a healthy way to express despair or grief or rage, it often turns inward in the form of depression or even suicide. Suicide rates tend to be about 3 times higher for men than for women. As Emma Watson mentioned in her 2014 UN speech, in the United Kingdom, suicide is still the greatest killer of men ages 20 to 34. Yet, the discussion of male mental health is completely taboo in many parts of the world. On the flip side, when men's unchanneled emotion, particularly anger, turns outward, it is often deadly. Men are much more likely to commit acts of violence, including sexual assault, and domestic violence. Some have even postulated that the recent epidemic of mass shootings is related to a culture of toxic masculinity and its unfortunate byproduct, isolation. It is not my purpose to let anyone off the hook for their actions. Personal responsibility is still paramount, and violence against anyone of any gender is completely unacceptable. But we cannot ignore the role of confining and destructive social norms. Doing so jeopardizes us all. There has long been a misconception that gender equality is a women's movement. But gender equality is actually about just that, equality. It is a liberation movement for all genders. It is a liberation movement for each and every person that has ever felt the burden of a gender stereotype, or the pain of discrimination, or the pressure to fit into an uncomfortable mold. And part of this liberation movement requires that we call out and break down these social norms and barriers to our well-being so that we may all be free to be our true selves. In the journey for equality, women and men are like 2 strands of DNA wrapped together in an embrace. Our burdens are as intertwined as our common destiny. The constraints that burden me will eventually burden you. And the same is true in reverse. As long as you are burdened, I am too. By recognizing this interdependence, I can work for your well-being and know that I'm also working toward my own. I can know that whatever action I take to free you also frees me. And this is not just about what makes us human. This is what makes us a human family. And that brings me back to my original question. What does it mean to be human? While I appreciate how different fields help us get closer to the answer to that question, I'm grateful that I pursued acting. It was a truly scary choice at the time, but I'm grateful. And I'm grateful because my characters have not only shown me human truth, but they have revealed to me my own truth, my own contradictions. Acting has taught me to resist labels. I know that my characters are not good or bad or strong or weak in the same way that I know that about myself. Their beauty, our beauty, is born out of our contradictions and the blending of light and darkness and the combination of all of our traits. There's power in embracing that. There's power in embracing everything we feel. Because all human beings display different attributes in different proportions at different moments in our lives. We're all fragile sometimes. And we're all tough sometimes. We're all sorrowful sometimes. And we're all hopeful sometimes. We're all afraid sometimes. But we're all brave sometimes. We're all the darkness, and we're all the light. These traits don't make us a man or a woman. They make us human. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Edgar. Thank you so much for that. So many truths in what you said. And I will tell you this, I think you chose the right career path because you can act like an ambassador or a president or a politician, so you get the best of all worlds, my friend. Enjoy it. We're going to move on now, ladies and gentlemen, into the impact section and meet some of the impact champions. But before you hear from Bob Moritz, your host for the evening, we'll introduce you to some of the men who are behind the Impact 10 by 10 by 10 initiative.
I have worked as a welder in a male-dominated manufacturing sector.
When I met my wife, she already had 2 children, both of whom were girls.
Before becoming president, I spoke to some of our female faculty.
They joined a startup. A startup is about survival, is about who is the best, and guess what? The best is 50-50.
For me, it was in the early 1990s when I spent almost 4 years in Japan. It gave me an opportunity to appreciate what it was like to be somebody who experienced something different than myself.
Immediately, I recognized that there was a real need to do something new.
I want my son and my daughter to have the exact same experience that I had, which was being mentored and led by 2 incredibly powerful female leaders early on in my career.
This was my click moment.
HeForShe is about creating awareness, but above all, translating this into real commitment and action.
Being a HeForShe champion.
Being a HeForShe champion.
Being a HeForShe Impact Champion means
being the #1 role model in the company in promoting practically gender equity in every decision we make.
And building an inclusive organization where all individuals feel valued and supported.
It's a simple recipe for success, and it is also the right thing to do.
Innovation and creativity can only be fostered in a workplace that encourages diversity of voices.
Men hold most of the power positions in business, in government, and in education.
Working environments as well as decision-making improve with the equal participation of women.
The gender equality issues we face on a daily basis could not be more important or timely.
In countries throughout the world, the urgency is so clear.
We're constantly trying to improve gender equality.
It will be equal and egalitarian in enrollment patterns, in graduates, in employment patterns.
Mindsets will be changed, gender stereotypes will be broken down.
You can promote values and use your position to build a better world.
Helping other organizations become gender equal.
We are also working to ensure that every individual will have an equal opportunity to engage in research, education, and discovery.
We want all genders to look at higher education and see equal opportunity.
I want for my daughter as many chances as for my sons.
The whole is so much stronger than the sum of its parts, and together we will achieve change.
It is in our hands and within our reach to achieve this.
We all are equal.
So far tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you've had a look at the big picture of HeForShe. But that big picture stands upon millions of individual stories that have emerged from diverse communities in all corners of the globe. In our next segment, we'll look closely at some of them, dynamic on-the-ground stories that answer the question, why is this movement necessary and how is it happening? Our introductory speaker for this segment is another Impact champion and our host for tonight. Mr. Bob Moritz, chairman of PricewaterhouseCoopers International Limited, a man who is changing the face of the company he runs. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Moritz, chairman of PricewaterhouseCoopers International.
Good evening, everyone. I start off by questioning not necessarily the role I have today and the impact I can have, but how did I get so lucky to follow the First Lady of the city, the President of Finland, and Edgar, your wonderful speech. So another round of applause for everybody that we've heard from so far this evening. As Trevor said, I've had the privilege, and as a humbling one, to just take over the responsibilities of leading PwC across the world. It's a role I took on 2.5 months ago. But more important, especially for tonight, is the role I play as impact champion for the HeForShe initiative. And that's a role that comes regardless of title and job description. It's a role that each and every one of us can play in everything that we do. I want to thank the executive director for the invitation to represent the business community up here as one of the CEOs talking about this. And I'd like to thank the other CEOs and business leaders that are in the room. If I think about Vittorio from Vodafone, Adam from Twitter, as well as Rick Goings from Tupperware. I hope I do them proud in demonstrating the role that the business community can play in this very important issue. The challenge around inequality, gender inequality, is a huge, important social issue. But rather than talk about it as a challenge, let's talk about it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity that only gets captured when you have a forceful intervention, a disruptive intervention by each and every one of us in the audience today and the many, many millions of people outside of the room today to have the impact that they can do to take on the opportunity and make it become a reality by bringing the impact each and every one of us can bring in our day-to-day lives. So let me talk for a second about impact. At PwC, we're an organization of 250,000 people around the world, 158 different countries that we operate in, and we have a social obligation to make the world better. Our purpose, our mission, is to help enable trust to be better than it is today in society, and to help solve some very important problems, this being one of them. So what do we, PwC, do about it? There's clearly a role that I can play in terms of what I do, what I role model, and how I act, and how I expect others to do the same. But let me talk for a second about what PwC, the organization, is trying to do. Working with the UN, 2 very specific projects that I encourage each and every one of you to be talking about and participate in. EmpowerWomen.org. The focus there is to actually connect the dots between women and the economic opportunities that are in front of them. Identifying the opportunities, connecting the opportunities, make them come to life, and enable people's success to the individual and the economy overall. Second initiative that we focused on as we think about working with the UN's Women's Group, virtual learning. Here, the issue is how can we enable education to those that are not as fortunate as perhaps some of us to have high-quality education, or maybe even said, any education, to want to help enable their individual and, again, collective success. Things that we are doing from a societal perspective where a business, an organization can play a big, meaningful role in a societal issue, and everything that the HeForShe initiative is focused on. Now let's get more specific. Within PwC, we made a commitment 2 years ago to have at least 80,000 people signed up to be those ambassadors, to have an impact. And at this point in time, we're at 53,000 people, and I am confident not only that we'll meet that objective, but exceed that objective, based upon the culture and the ethos of our organization and the role that we play, in order to hopefully leverage the opportunity to inspire others to do the same. Second, we actually committed as one of our corporate commitments to identify a diversity index. Get very specific. Some of this does not happen without role models, accountability, and actions that turn words into something more substantive. So we created a diversity index, which is the measurement of the success of moving things forward, quantitatively and qualitatively, to hold our people accountable up and down the chain of command in our 250,000 people organization, to have the obligation to do something, not just talk about it, do something in this space. And last but not least, is how can we talk to everybody inside PwC and outside of PwC? And I'm proud to announce tonight that we're launching with the UN and the Women's Initiative a focus around a curriculum that is free, available to everybody, around dealing with the unconscious biases or preferences that are in our day-to-day choices, dialogue, and action. It's called Building Gender IQ. And with that, we have a short video to describe what this is all about. So why don't we run the video, and I'll come back to you in a moment. As I said, this is being launched very soon. It's up and running and ready to go. I would encourage everyone in the room tonight to spread the word, to use it, leverage it, and turn it into the asset that helps in a little way enable success. I stand here again representing the business community. I'm humbled because we're not doing enough and there's so much more to be done. But every little bit helps. And I will argue that businesses themselves, governments themselves, community by themselves cannot actually take advantage of the opportunity that stands in front of us and get the impact that we're looking for. And I would encourage each and every one of us not necessarily to do our part. You're all converted here. I would ask each and every one of us to get somebody else engaged so we can spread the word and make this come to life. I'm committed to make the impact that I possibly can make. I commit PwC to make the impact it can make. And we're committed to work with everybody else to achieve the objectives that the HeForShe initiative has put forth, because that's the world we're all dreaming about, and that's the world that can become a reality with what we do each and every day. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Powerful, powerful words and action. Thank you so much, Mr. Moritz, for your thoughtful remarks. Unfortunately, our next speaker could not make it, the President of Malawi, His Excellency Peter Mutharika. But I guess less than his presence, the video that we're going to show will truly show you what HeForShe is doing on the ground. Some amazing initiatives, and Malawi is one of the most stellar examples of that. So please enjoy.
I have been inspired by great men like Nelson Mandela, who stood for the rights of a woman. I hate to see a girl suffering. I hate a girl failing to go to school. I hate to see a girl not doing what she can do, because I know they've got that great potential in them. In the past, when we talked about gender equality, we thought it was only addressing the issue of a woman. But this time around, we were saying men must also take a stand. Culture can no longer be overly conservative. They've got to change with time and address the issues as they arise. Since becoming a champion, I have addressed a lot of meetings with fellow chiefs. We shall commit ourselves to ensuring that there is equality between men and women, and that there's no gender-based violence, there will be no child abuse, no forced early child marriages. Once we start believing in that oneness, then everything should be all right.
كناشط في المجتمع ومؤسس لمجموعة مبادرات وحملات تطوعية، كنا دايما عمالنا بنواجه مشكلة إنه كتير في بنات وشباب حابين يتطوعوا معنا بس ما عم بيقدروا. والسبب إنه أهاليهم عمالهم بيمنعوهم ينزلوا للميدان وينخرطوا مع الجنس الآخر. فمن هون قررنا ندخل موضوع المساواة في النوع الاجتماعي، ومن هون أنا HeForShe بدأت بار حملة. كرجل اتجسد دوري كخطوة أولى ضمن حركة HeForShe هو إنه نكسر الصور النمطية الموجودة في الدوائر الصغيرة اللي كنت عمالي بتواجد فيها. في المرحلة الأولى ضمن حركة HeForShe استهدفنا طلاب الجامعات داخل الجامعات بشكل خاص، وقدرنا نصير بالأردن البلد رقم 1 على مستوى المنطقة العربية. ومن الأردن في 5100 رجل داعمين للمساواة في النوع الاجتماعي وحقوق المرأة، وبنطمح كلنا مع بعض نوصل للعالم كامل كيف إنه المساواة في النوع الاجتماعي هي وسيلة جداً مناسبة لنعيش كلنا في سلام وبيئة عادلة دون وجود صور نمطية لكل من الذكور والإناث. لأنه قضية المساواة في النوع الاجتماعي هي قضية ما بتمس فقط الامرأة، بل بتمسني أنا كرجل، لأنه في كتير صور نمطية عمالها بترتسم لنا كرجال بتحد من دورنا في الانطلاق في المجتمع تاعنا وممارسة دورنا على أكمل وجه. إنه هلأ صار الوقت المناسب لنوقف كلنا مع بعض ونوصل صوتنا، لأنه صوت كل واحد فينا هو مهم في صناعة التغيير.
My aha moment actually was when we did a bicycle rally, or rather the first bicycle rally in Pune. We mobilized 121,000 people to sign up and pledge for HeForShe. At around 7 a.m. in the morning, we had 750 people who turned up. The idea behind organizing a HeForShe bicycle rally was to say that you are not stuck in traffic, you are traffic. The bicycle basically represented the two genders harmonizing. We did the first advocacy workshop on HeForShe in a rural area, highlighting the power of volunteerism through online, offline methods, as well as building a network of youth advocates. Engage people in having that conversation to end stereotypes, to take up initiatives at community level, instill a sense of, belongingness. It is up to you what you want to do once you take the pledge, once you take the commitment for HeForShe.
I work as a registered nurse at the emergency department in Reykjavik. What I can do is be a good role model in my job. When I heard about the HeForShe movement, that was actually a moment that clicked for me, made me start to question everything that I do. Am I being misogynistic or am I stereotyping? There are some shifts that I'm the only male on duty. it being strange to be a male nurse. It shouldn't be. It should be just like any other profession. I think that's the way to get guys more into it, just to show them good role models, and that's what we've been doing here in Iceland. This is not more a female job than a male job. This should just be a job for everyone. That's the impact we make, and that's what I'm trying to do. My daughter should be able to do whatever job she wants, regardless of her gender, and so will my son. So that is my spark, and hopefully this will spark some more changes in society. And that's what it's all about, it's motivating guys to work towards gender equality, which shouldn't be a question. It should be equality for everyone.
Truly inspiring and amazing stories from all over the globe and on the ground. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome the Prime Minister of Japan, His Excellency Shinzo Abe, to the stage.
皆さんこんばんは、安倍晋三です。まずはじめに本会合の主催者であるニーニストフィンランド大統領とムランボ・ヌッカ UN Women 事務局長の男女平等および女性のエンパワーメントに関する先進的な取り組みに敬意を表したいと思います。
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan. May I begin my greeting by paying my tribute to the hosts of this gathering, President Niinisto of the Republic of Finland and Ms. Mlambon Kuka of UN Women for their advanced efforts in promoting gender equality and women's empowerment.
また、エマ・トンプソン UN Women 親善大使の HeForShe の推進における貢献に感謝申し上げます。
I'd also like to express my gratitude to Ms. Emma Watson, UN Friendship Ambassador, for her contribution in promoting HeForShe movement.
また、本日はたくさんの HeForShe 支持者が集まるこの会合に参加できることを嬉しく思います。
I am so happy to see so many supporters of HeForShe today in this gathering. I'm so happy to be among you all.
私はこれまで日本の総理大臣としてインパクトチャンピオンに選ばれ、女性が輝く社会の実現に取り組んでまいりました。
As a Prime Minister of Japan, having been selected as one of the Impact Champions, I have hitherto endeavored to make a society where women shine a reality.
G7 伊勢志摩サミットでは首脳会合のみならず、すべての関係閣僚会合でも必ず女性の問題を議題として取り上げるように指示をいたしました。
I gave my instruction that at the G7 Ise-shima Summit, not only the leaders' meeting, but at all other relevant ministerial meetings should, without fail, take up the women's issues.
これは G7 サミットの歴史上初めてのことであります。
This was the first time ever in the history of G7 Summit.
私は女性のエンパワーメントなくして日本の経済の再生はないと思っています。
I am a firm believer that without women's empowerment, there is no revival of the Japanese economy.
これまで女性の参画は社会政策という位置づけでありましたが、安倍政権においてはこれを経済政策と位置づけ、アベノミクスの中心政策としてまいりました。
Until now, the issue of women's participation has been positioned as a social policy. But in my administration, we position this as an economic policy, placing it at the heart of Abenomics.
日本は高齢化が進み、少子化が進む中で人口減少の局面に入っています。
As you know, Japan is an aging society with low birth rate.
女性の潜在力を開放していかなければ、日本の経済成長を望めないと考えています。
I know that we can't hope for economic growth in Japan unless we liberate the potential and power of women.
同時に女性の活躍、あるいは多様性こそが社会を強靭にし、そしてそれは経済成長につながっていくと考えています。
At the same time, I think the diversity which would be exhibited by women's participation would really bring in the economic growth and strengthen the resilience of our society.
日本の経済界に上場企業には少なくとも役員に1人の重役に1人の女性を入れるように要請をしております。
To the listed companies in Japan, I have asked those companies to have at least one woman on their board.
私はその際よくこう申し上げるんです。もしリーマンブラザーズがリーマンブラザーズ&シスターズだったら破綻しなかっただろうと言っています。
On that occasion, I usually ask these corporate leaders, if Lehman Brothers had been Lehman Brothers and Sisters, would they have failed?
女性が参加していくことによって企業はもっとその魅力を生かしていくことにつながっていきます。
With the greater participation of women into the society, I'm sure that the economic vigor will be even heightened.
それは企業だけではなくて社会もそうですし、国もそうですし、そして世界もそうだろうと思っています。
And it doesn't happen only in the corporate world. It happens in the society, it happens in the countries, and I think it will really enhance the vigor of the whole world.
その実現のために始めたのが国際女性会議 WOW です。
But to that end, we started WOW, World Assembly for Women.
HeForShe キャンペーンが訴えるように、女性のエンパワーメントの実現のためには男性も変わらなければなりません。
As HeForShe movement appeals to the world, if we want to realize women's empowerment, men must change as well.
WOW では男性も巻き込んで変革を起こそうとしています。
At WOW, we are trying to cause change by engaging men.
3回目となる WOW は今年12月に東京で実施をします。
We will hold the third WOW meeting in Tokyo in December this year.
本日ご出席の皆様にもぜひ参加をしていただきたいと思います。
Dear participants to the second anniversary, I hope that you will all come to this event.
ご都合のつかない方はオンラインでのフォローをお願いをしたいと思います。
If you cannot make yourself available to come to the event, please do follow the assembly online.
私たちのチャレンジはまだ道半ばであります。
The journey of our challenge, however, is still not over yet.
私の親善大使がいろいろなところで訴えられておられるように、未だかつて男女平等を実現した国はありません。
As Ambassador Emma Watson appeals and speaks in different places in the world, there is yet no country which achieved gender equality.
しかし私は女性が輝く社会を必ず実現させていきたいと考えています。
But, ladies and gentlemen, I shall make a society where women shine indeed a reality.
日本はいわゆる侍の国として非常に保守的な国でもあります。
Well, Japan is a country known for being conservative, known as a country of samurais.
しかし日本が変われば世界が変わっていくというふうに信じております。
But if Japan changes, the world will change.
皆さん共に世界を変えていこうではありませんか。
So, dear supporters of HeForShe, I appeal all of you, let us challenge together to make a new world.
Thank you very much.
Domo arigato. I try. Thank you so much to all our activists for their amazing stories. Our next set of stories, ladies and gentlemen, come from the now generation. HeForShe has really resonated with the youth of the world, and in addition to their activity on social media and their awareness-raising activists, they have created 250 organic HeForShe student clubs and organizations at campuses around the world. The millennials are driven, committed, and high energy, contrary to popular belief. Some of the HeForShe youth activists have traveled a long way to tell us their stories. The changes they're making today will lead to a better tomorrow for all of us. But before we hear from them, I'd like to introduce our speaker for this segment, Impact Champion and our host for this evening, Samuel L. Stanley Jr., the president of Stony Brook University. Now, before I let you take the stage, so I think this is really admirable. A lot of people don't know this, but Stony Brook University is the only campus in the United States that houses a center for men and masculinity. And this is truly exciting because HeForShe is working closely with the center on redefining what masculinity looks like. And honestly, I'm sure that Mr. Stanley will have some interesting thoughts on that. So it is an honor to introduce you. Thank you.
So I'm really honored to appear here tonight in support of UN Women's movement for gender equality. We had a press conference today, and at that press conference, I mentioned that this is a matter that really matters to me very much personally. I've developed a deep commitment to gender equality that's really rooted in my knowledge of the obstacles and barriers faced by my wife, Ellen, in her career as a physician scientist. The same career I had, she faced obstacles and barriers that I never faced at all. And now, one generation later, I'm seeing those same obstacles and barriers being confronted by our two daughters as they progress in the medical sciences. I'm not willing to wait another generation. I don't think we should be either. We need equality now. So that's why it's so important to me that Stony Brook University be at the forefront in the struggle for gender equality. And being one of the 10 HeForShe University champions provides a powerful platform to achieve that goal. I have to tell you that I'm invigorated every day by the work our students, faculty, and staff are doing to surmount and eliminate those barriers and obstacles as we try to move to a more promising future. At Stony Brook University, we're taking bold steps towards closing the gender gap in matriculation and graduation rates, integrating gender equality into all of the academic and the social experience. And as Trevor mentioned, building upon the outstanding work that's coming from our Center for the Study of Men and Masculinities to help drive a global understanding of the role of men in achieving true equality, helping them recognize that it is so beneficial to men, that men benefit more than almost anyone in the drive to true equality. And we have the opportunity at Stony Brook, through outreach to all 64 SUNY campuses, to positively impact the experience of more than 459,000 students and almost 90,000 faculty and staff. But challenges remain. Academics must do a better job of educating themselves about their inherent biases and the impacts they have on the career path of women in academia, science, and medicine. Society as a whole must continue to evolve in search of a world free of violence and discrimination. Only 5 years ago today, the United States military ended its don't ask, don't tell policy, allowing gay men and women to serve openly for the first time. The challenges facing us right now may sometimes seem daunting, but change can be swift and sweeping once society reaches consensus upon a critical issue. Here in this great museum, we can all summon inspiration and creativity. These walls display the rich cultural heritage of the previous century and remind us that we are shaping the current century right now with every action, word, and thought. Universities are central to this process because they are the cradles of tomorrow's leadership. That's why I asked some of Stony Brook's best and brightest students to join us tonight. Would you please stand and make some noise? Thank you. They are members of Stony Brook's HeForShe committee, representing the diversity of our campus life. They're committed to working together to infuse the spirit and practice of gender equality throughout the university. They, as well as the student voices you will hear later, inspire me to continue this work. I welcome this opportunity to celebrate how far we've come and renew our commitment in preparation for the road ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stanley. And one more time to His Excellency, thank you for your presence. We appreciate your time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a really special announcement. On behalf of the Executive Director of UN Women, it is my honor to officially announce His Excellency, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, PF of Canada. Yes. And announcing him as an official inaugural thematic champion for youth. Prime Minister, may I invite you to join me on stage together with Ms. Emma Watson. Please. He said yes. He said yes. Ladies and gentlemen, my crush, Justin Trudeau. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome and the shout-outs. Thank you, President Niinisto, for your leadership on this and your challenging of all us other leaders to follow Finland's leadership on this. Shinzo Abe, who had to leave, he and I sit around the G7 table challenging each other on who can be better feminists, and we both know we have an awful long way to go, but it was great to see him here. Phumzile, thank you for all your leadership. It was an extraordinary pleasure to be able to be at a UN Women event with you in the spring, and I'm so pleased to continue to be able to support everything you're doing. Emma Watson, thank you for the pen. and mostly thank you for your challenging activism as a young person who knows that she needs to shape the world and demand us all to be better. And your voice connects in ways us politicians simply can't. Thank you for all you do and everyone who's involved here tonight. There are few causes that I am as passionate about as the one that is at the core of the HeForShe movement, the need for gender equality and the need to have everyone, men and women alike, doing their part to help get us there. So I'm especially excited tonight to commit to being a HeForShe champion for youth engagement. As part of that commitment, I look forward to deepening Canada's cooperation with UN Women, especially as regards the implementation of UN Women's gender and youth strategy. When Phumzile first asked me to serve in this capacity, I had two thoughts. First, that I welcomed the challenge to do more to advance the cause of gender equality. And second, that the word champion, when I think about myself, feels a little strange. You see, I don't think that anyone should find it remarkable that someone like me, a son, a brother, a husband, a father, a political leader, should be interested in advancing opportunities for women and girls. I say that because I think that everybody should be in the business of improving opportunities for women and girls. And young people are already more likely to know how important this is, so it's time that the rest of us started to follow their lead. We need women and girls to succeed because that's how we build stronger, more resilient communities. It's how we grow a stronger economy. Encouraging the full participation of women and girls in public life and in the business world leads to better decision-making all around. La solidarité, la croissance économique et les politiques bien ciblées n'aident pas juste la moitié de la population, c'est toute la société qui gagne quand les femmes et les filles ont plus d'opportunités pour prendre les devants et être des leaders. When women and girls get ahead, everyone does better in society. Now, what many of you may not know is not only am I the Prime Minister of the country, I also, being Prime Minister, got to give myself a task that I think is equally important as being Prime Minister of Canada, and that's being the Youth Minister of Canada. To be honest, when I got into office, there wasn't really much of a youth minister portfolio, so I had to fix that and create it because everything we do needs to focus on young people, needs to focus on building a better world for the long term and not just in time for the next election cycle. And being focused on young people and their dreams of a better world keeps us all in government thinking about what really matters when we go through our businesses. I took on this additional responsibility because the challenges young people have faced are something that have been constant throughout my life. I started as a teacher, I became an activist, I got into being a politician, and now the challenges of young people become acutely present as I think about being a dad. When I was younger, I'd talk about young people by projecting back to when I was young. Now that I'm a dad, I look at my kids and I project forward to the world that I want to help create for them. HeForShe understands that women's issues are society's issues. And I'd say the same thing for the issues facing young people. We often, in youth events, try to tell young people and inspire them and get them to step up and take their place in the world by telling them that they are our leaders of tomorrow. Well, I don't want anyone in this room or elsewhere to ever tell young people that they're leaders of tomorrow. Because we need young people to understand that they are leaders today. Everything you do in your community, in your job, in your school matters today, and you help shape the world around you. And if you want to acknowledge them, if you want to recognize their vision and commitment, we've got two great examples, actually three great examples of vision and commitment in the young people that have joined me here today. The first is Mary Ellen Gibson, who's a student at the University of Saskatchewan. Where are you, Mary Ellen? I think she's way in the back there. She's waving. She's been a strong advocate for young women on the issues of safety and sexual health. She's contributed to the important work of organizations like the Canadian Network of Women's Shelters and Transitional Houses in their efforts to end violence against women. And Alexander Virch, are you there, Alexander? Yeah, also in the back. Is a first-year student at Carleton University in Ottawa and was a founding member of the Man Up initiative, a project that recognizes the need for greater change in the way that men treat the women in their lives. And in a few moments, we'll have the pleasure to hear from a young woman, Anya Forrestel, who's a recipient of a HeForShe Impact Scholarship. Anya is pursuing a degree at the University of Waterloo in the field of physics and dreams of becoming an astronaut. Like thousands of young people all around the world, these young people are leaders in their schools, in their communities, in everything they do. And it's their engagement, like thousands of other young people around the world, towards equality that'll shape the better world that my children will grow up in. Obviously, for my daughter, Ella Grace, I hope that she has every opportunity to succeed just as much as my sons. But I also want my sons, Xavier and Hadrian, to be active and engaged in understanding that they have to work and fight so that their sister, Ella Grace, has all the opportunities as well. It's not just about women's issues, it's about everyone's issues, and teaching that to all of our kids is really, really important. Because we know that if kids grow up in a more equal world, It is a better world, more open, more prosperous, and more peaceful. I want to thank UN Women, Emma Watson, and all those involved in the HeForShe for continuing to fight this most important of fights. And regardless of how often I try to raise the bar and push things, I want you to know I am expecting all of you to point out where I fall short, where we all fall short. We need you to continue challenging your friends, your neighbors, your political leaders every day to do more and to do better, because we can and because we must. So on behalf of all the men and women and boys and girls of Canada, and indeed on behalf of all people in all nations, I thank all of you for your incredibly hard work. We are all so much the better for it. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
Truly phenomenal, phenomenal words. Thank you so much, Prime Minister. And wow, when he spoke French. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hearing from a few of our HeForShe advocates on the ground. So please enjoy the words of the people doing the work.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. I'm Anya Forrestal, the astrophysics student at the University of Waterloo. People always ask me about the moment I knew I wanted to study astrophysics. And I always answer the same thing. I don't have one exact moment where I knew. It was more of an accumulation of moments. Part of me fell in love with astrophysics the night I looked through a telescope, saw Jupiter's moons, and was overcome with awe. Part of me fell in love with astrophysics the day I finished reading Brian Greene's Fabric of the Cosmos and thought, okay, my mind is officially blown. He's made things I thought were impossible seem possible. And part of me fell in love with astrophysics the day I attended one of Chris Hadfield's talks. It was the first time I thought, maybe I'll be an astronaut someday. And I think my parents realized I was falling in love with astrophysics when one day my father was looking for the book he was reading, The Physics of the Impossible by Mikio Kaku, and my mother found it in my room. I was 11 years old. All of these moments confirmed little by little that astrophysics was my passion. As a high school student, it never crossed my mind that I shouldn't enter this field. My parents, family, friends, teachers were all extremely supportive, and there were equal numbers of boys and girls in my math and science classes. I never had to face blatant gender inequality. But when I reached university, I saw something different. Sometimes I'd look up and realize that I was the only woman in a room full of 30 men. And I began to realize that indeed there is gender discrimination, though it is often subtle. It is hidden in the low percentage of females enrolled in STEM, veiled behind words like demanding, bossy, and overbearing. Qualities which, when presented by men, would be seen as strength or confidence or fearlessness. Thank you. Receiving the HeForShe Impact Scholarship was an absolute thrill. It has, of course, been a financial help, but it was much more than that. It gave me the confidence to run for vice president of the physics club twice. And also, I am proud to say that although there were low percentages of females on the physics club executive team in the past, as of this past week, the newly elected physics club is composed of just over 50% of women. And so I'm very happy to say that. And a few of those women told me afterwards that they would not have found the courage to run had other women not run alongside them. So the HeForShe scholarship, as I was saying, gave me the confidence to run for vice president, and it also, oh, I'm nervous. Thank you. It gave me the courage to run for vice president of the physics club, and it also was a confirmation of my choice to pursue a career that I love. It sparked new conversations both within my university and even as far as China, when I was contacted by someone in the Canadian consulate in Shanghai who wanted to know more about my scholarship. And finally, this scholarship has broadened my own thinking about what I can do and how I can be more involved in promoting gender equality in STEM. It encouraged me to participate in much-needed conversations on things like bias, inclusion, and equal pay for equal work. We still have a long way to go before we reach equality in STEM, but my hope is that all women and girls will have the confidence to pursue their passions no matter what they are, and that all women and girls will feel not only respected, but welcomed and valued in whatever fields they choose. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Frank Hayward, and I am currently a student at the University of California, Irvine. So, making a positive contribution to the world has always been very important to me. Some mornings I wake up and I think, why am I here today? What can I do to make the world a little bit bigger? Well, my favorite time of the school year is when my fraternity, Sigma Phi Epsilon, coordinates our week-long event called SIGEP Safari. For anyone that doesn't know, fraternity is a collegiate club that men can join. I feel with SIGEP Safari, I can forget about myself, my schoolwork a little bit, and I can also just think about supporting others. This is also a time where everyone in my fraternity comes together, and to me it's very special. This past year, we thought a lot about what we wanted to support and what we wanted our fraternity to represent. About 2 years ago, around the same time that HeForShe was launched, our fraternity on a national level decided that all chapters will take an oath to help end sexual assault on college campuses. While at the University of California, Irvine, our campus is safe, myself and my brothers still knew the statistics, that 1 in 4 women get sexually assaulted on college campuses. So when we were discussing about which philanthropy we should support for SIGEP Safari, one of my brothers said, hey, what about HeForShe? So right off the bat, so for 1 week, our 65 brothers put all our efforts into raising funds as well as support for HeForShe. There were multiple brothers that were reaching out to sororities to get their help. We had brothers that were reaching out to our local restaurant. We had even brothers that were working with our SIGEP Safari apparel, which even had the HeForShe logo on it. By the end of the week, we raised almost $3,000 for HeForShe, and moreover, all week long, people wanted to know more about the issues. I can't tell you how happy I was that it was so successful. Everyone was involved and everyone made a contribution. In fact, we were so pleased with the response that we decided we'll dedicate SIGEP Safari to HeForShe again next year. But beyond what the fraternity did for fraternity morale and for gender equality, our fundraiser did something personally for me too. It made me think about gender stereotypes and what's right and what's just. I personally see HeForShe as a beacon of hope for all young and women in the future. If anyone wants to know why I support this cause, I say because I have a voice, and my voice can matter. I'm raising awareness now so that future generations accept that men and women can do whatever they want without the burden of gender stereotypes. I'm raising awareness now in hopes that in the future my daughter or even niece can graduate from college knowing that they won't have to experience gender inequality in the workforce or in any aspects of their life. HeForShe has created great awareness for gender equality over the last 2 years, and I'm looking forward to many more to come. And then finally to the year when we overcome gender inequality completely. Because we all deserve equal rights. We are all human, and that shouldn't separate it. Thank you.
Nobody gets to be their best selves, and nobody gets to live in the best world that they can live in if people are being trodden upon.
HeForShe is trying to break down those barriers and those walls that separate us. The goal is to start conversations and to be inclusive. It really is about all of us.
I think it begins with that curiosity about difference. Is my lived experience similar to yours or different than yours? And then through that, we find common ground to begin a conversation to hopefully build solidarity.
My call for action is to have young women, young men, young trans people understand that they can achieve power in this country. And I think this is something that the HeForShe campaign will absolutely contribute to. It will ensure that ideas and notions around gender will never stop us.
I'm Johannes Paulus Yimbisalo. I'm originally from Cameroon, and I live in Toronto at the moment. Many of my friends ask me why I'm so passionate about issues that concern women and girls. And I tell them it's because of my mother. At age 3, she lost her dad, and her mom could barely take care of herself and her family. However, with strong determination to go to school, she was able to borrow money from an uncle to go to school. After having 4 kids of her own, all boys, her husband, my father, died. It was then that life became very challenging for her. Her in-laws came and took everything they owned, and we all had to start all over again. As I grew into my teenage years, I started asking myself, why was society so cruel towards widows? It became clear to me that most of the men who practiced violence against women were not just insecure, but they were also uneducated. And most of the women who were victims were uneducated as well, and they thought violence was a normal thing and a way of expressing love towards them. In 2014, as a Global Youth Ambassador for Awards at school, I had the opportunity to attend the launch of the HeForShe in New York. I was very moved by Ms. Emma Watson's speech, and I started integrating gender equality messages in my talks back home. In 2015, I visited 3 communities in my village. I brought together men, young boys, fathers, community leaders, mothers, and children all in one space. And we started talking about issues that women and girls face, ranging from child marriage, teenage pregnancy, and violence against women and girls. And I asked the men, how many of you have witnessed or have been perpetrators of violence against women and girls? And most of them nodded. And I asked them why. They had no reason. We started talking about issues that women and girls face and how men and boys could be role models in their communities. The good thing from this was the fact that the men made public promises in front of their wives and in front of their children to be role models in their communities. To the women, they had regained a sense of identity and dignity. To the children, they were more empowered to speak up whenever they saw violence at home. In 2016, I started an initiative through my organization called Every Garden, Every School Initiative, which brings together boys and girls at very early ages to start to teach them how to grow food in a healthy and sustainable way. Farming in sub-Saharan Africa is exclusively practiced by women. So I wanted to start engaging young boys as early as 3, 4 years old to get involved in farming so as to break the stereotypes. My message to every young man and every young boy here is to stand up for our daughters, for our sisters, for our mothers, who make up 50% of the population, because we are one world, we are one community, and we are one family. Thank you.
I am Aruj Ashraf from Pakistan, and the place that I call home is ranked 141 out of 142 in the World Economic Forum's annual Gender Gap Index. We are second to last in global gender equality. I grew up as an army brat and received equal treatment from both my family and in my surroundings. I was selected to study in one of the most renowned engineering institute of Pakistan in the civil department, where the boy-to-girl ratio was 20-1. Such a stark imbalance was indeed challenging. I was called bossy, selfish, show-off, and demanding. And I was told that the reason woman gets good grades is based on the amount of makeup that she applies not her brains. So I created an all-girl society of my own, Zimmel, with tagline, breaking stereotypes for her. This past 8th of March, on International Women's Day, our society had a new idea to launch the first UN Women HeForShe initiative in Pakistan. We joined up with another male society, Khardar, with the tagline, "As brothers we stand," to raise awareness and engagement in the HeForShe campaign. We created posters, we hung up banners, and we set out to the goal to make people aware of everything that is wrong with gender discrimination in our societies. As you can imagine, not everyone agreed with us. We faced considerable resistance and even threats of violence from hardcore conservative groups. A group of men complained to the university administration that such a campaign would endanger us and therefore should not be held on campus. Our posters and our banners were torn down and destroyed. But we knew we had to stick to our promise. Within 48 hours of our launch, we engaged 6,000 men and boys to sign up for the HeForShe. Thank you. And we contributed to the global HeForShe ticker, crossing the 300,000 mark. Afterwards, I remember our wrists being sore, typing consecutively for 2 days straight, but it was worth it. In recognition of our volunteer services, UN Women presented us with the first HeForShe Hero of the Month International Award in May 2015, which led me to believe that you are never too young to make a difference. When man himself empowers women, he stands up against the stereotype and violence and harassment that is inflicted on them. He breaks stereotype and recreates a new status quo. Countries that are more gender equal are also the countries that score highest on the happiness scale. Equality is just, it is ethical, and it's in favor of men as well. It's a win-win situation. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Lupita, and I come from Indonesia. Born the daughter of a military officer, I learned early in life what it means to take a stand to lead and be a life soldier. My father gave equal opportunities for my brother and I to go to school and achieve things. He pushes me and supports me to be brave and confident as a young woman. He is my role model. He is my first HeForShe. But even though I grew up believing that I could achieve anything, I learned early in life that the outside world for women can be hard. At the age of 10, I was sexually assaulted by a group of young men while walking home from school. I was terrified by the notion that men can be so malicious to girls and that they can treat us as undignified objects. I was traumatized by the incident, but it had given me the courage to speak up and stand up against sexual violence. I have struggled to accept that it is okay to be underestimated, called out, or hawked on the street just because we're girls, because everyone has the right to live without fear. When I went to Canada for my studies, I realized how women in my country were held far back compared to those in Western societies. I thought about how 250 million people in my country could have progressed much more had women been given more opportunities. And for example, when I participated in a political party in my small hometown, I was instead asked to join the other female in the kitchen to prepare and serve food for men instead of joining the discussion. And it was hard for me to accept that it is okay to set aside my opinions and contribution because of my gender, of being a woman. Now, I've learned that women are living in a world that is not yet entirely equal with men, and I want change to happen, starting from my own community in the workplace. As a young employee at Danone, a multinational French company, I co-founded the HeForShe program with 5 other female colleagues. Driven bottom-up with the support of male coworkers, we work on voluntary basis to create special programs to help women and empower them in the workplace. Through cross-gender mentoring programs, leadership training and business acumen skills, as well as programs to influence work policies to keep women in the workplace. In about 1 year, our HeForShe community that was once started as a small initiative have traveled and reached across regions, not only in Indonesia, in our Danone planet, but also in Singapore, China, France, Netherlands, and Russia. Now, over 500 people with more than 10 nationalities are now actively engaged in conversations and actions to promote gender equality and empowerment of women. Never had I thought that young Indonesian women can make as big an impact in a global corporation this fast. I've learned that we are never too young to create and make a change, and that no action is ever too small, because I believe with passion and energy, we all can drive small things into big things. Change surely doesn't happen overnight, but surely happens. And changing the world for the better begins with each and every one of us today. Thank you.
Wow. A big thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them all a round of applause to all of our speakers. Truly phenomenal words. And it truly shows that these young voices are a testament to the passion of youth, and how it can change the world. They remind us every day that every person, regardless of their age, background, or position, can make a difference. And so with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the final segment of this evening. I think what impresses me the most is that this is just a sample of the amazing work that is going on beyond these walls. Worldwide, even as we gather here tonight, people are changing the world. The other thing that impresses me is that on its 2nd anniversary, this is a young movement, and this will surely be a sign of many great things to come. In our final segment, we'll hear more about what we have to look forward to, and we'll hear more from the 2 women who started it all. So ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we've heard about the what, the why, and the how of HeForShe. Our final speakers will tell us about what's next. I told you that this was only the beginning. Between the visionary leadership of Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka and the impassioned call to action from Emma Watson, this movement took root in 2014. Everyone here, you have helped water it and nurtured it and helped it grow. Now these 2 speakers will share their ideas about where we can go from here. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka has been a campaigner for human rights and women's rights all of her life. In her home country, my home country, which is South Africa, she was actively involved in the struggle to end apartheid and on the global stage. From 2005 to 2008, she served as deputy president of our country, overseeing programs to combat poverty and bring the advantages of a growing economy to the poor, with a particular focus on women. Today, she is United Nations Under-Secretary General and Executive Director of UN Women, leading a global mission for gender equality. But first, we will hear from a woman who has lent her name and voice to this important solidarity movement. UN Women Goodwill Ambassador, thought leader, and leading actor, Emma Watson.
Gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Thank you to everyone that has shared their story tonight and has contributed to what has been the most heartwarming moment of my year. Good evening. Being a part of HeForShe for the last 2 years has been an incredible learning experience for me. There have been some really hard moments and a lot of amazing ones I never could have imagined. The UN Secretary General, the entire EU Commission, the NATO Secretary General, the President of the International Olympic Committee, numerous heads of state and politicians from around the world, including those that you've heard from tonight, and everyone from Usain Bolt to Tom Hanks, and now all HeForShe. We've crashed the UN website on multiple occasions. Sorry about that. We have lit up the Empire State Building, seen HeForShe in Times Square, and made it a term in the Urban Dictionary. After 2 billion media impressions, 1.1 million pledged HeForShes have made practical commitments, as have some of the world's leading universities and companies, to make gender equality a priority in their work and within their communities. Surprisingly, though, it was during the hard moments that I made the best discoveries about what it means to be part of this movement. There is genuinely a spectrum of amazing feminists out there who have not only given me invaluable advice, but also broadened my perspective and reinforced my belief that we are all linked. We all belong to a long history of people who have made sacrifices, some groups much more than others, in order to make indefinably large contributions to our modern lives. We've seen seismic shifts in culture recently. I couldn't believe my eyes when I turned on the TV to see that Bud Light was pledging gender equality and equal pay as part of their current advertising campaign. We already have some amazing things happening, some amazing female leaders, but I don't know if I would have believed you if you had told me 2 years ago, before I made my HeForShe speech, that we might have the first female president of the United States. Please don't let me down, America. A female prime minister of the United Kingdom, and possibly, for the first time in history, a female UN Secretary General. While women still only make up such a small percentage of political leadership, to quote the awesome Michelle Obama, because of these women, girls and boys all over the world will have real-life examples that women are leaders. In the last 2 years, if I have learned anything, if they have shown me anything, it is that nothing is impossible. And that's why tonight, as well as saying thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you have done, I ask you to recommit yourself to be a part of gender equality. I genuinely feel that we are closer to a gender equal world, and certainly closer than we were 2 years ago, and I know that each and every HeForShe has played such a huge part in that. I am proud to have been part of lots of amazing things in my life, but there is nothing that I am prouder of than being part of this. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
His Excellency, President of Finland, Saul Niinisto, all excellencies present and gone. What matters is that they came. I also want to thank someone and respectfully ask him to stand and wave. The President of the General Assembly passed, who is on his way out but has been an amazing supporter for gender equality. I also want to greet the ministers who are here from different countries. I have noticed someone who gave us Agenda 2030, none other than my sister Amina Mohammed. And of course, I also want to recognize the First Lady of New York. Her warmth, her welcome has made UN Women really part of the family of this city and City Hall. Thank you so much for the warmth that we received from you. I can't see everybody who's here. I can see my 10 by 10 champions who are here, of course. But I also know that there's really many wonderful people. I want to recognize the young people also who are here from the 250 chapters of HeForShe in different universities. The ones that are here tonight are mostly from the US branches, but there's a few who are here who are also from beyond the US, such as our young persons from Canada, from Pakistan, and of course, our youth, also young women also from Indonesia. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Edgar, for your profound speech. It was amazing. And Edgar is a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. Thanks, UNICEF, for this one UN approach. You've given us your ambassador so that together we can make sure that he inspires men and women that we want to be part of this wonderful initiative and campaign. Thanks, Edgar. And I also want to thank the Finnish mission and the wonderful team that we've worked with to make today possible. We've worked day and night, awkward hours, texting, emailing, and thank God it all came together the way it did. So I'm trying to thank everybody who made this possible. And lastly, I'm going to thank UN Women staff. We have seen how this idea that we've all nurtured, this baby that we all were part of forming called HeForShe has become. And I know that it was a bit controversial for us. UN Women organizing men, what's up? Why are we even doing this? Is this feminist enough? Are we surrendering our role and place in leading this revolution for gender equality? What if these men trick us? We have had to think about a lot of issues. Could we really take the resources, the limited resources that we have to address the plight of women and girls and use them to facilitate the participation of men? We quickly got around to saying the men that we work with must fund their own money so that they must buy themselves into our struggle. So it's been wonderful to see how much fundraising has actually happened in different ways. As you could see tonight, everyone who paid was a guy. We have, in the last 2 years, reached more than 1 million men who have formally registered as HeForShe. When you sign up as a HeForShe, you get a number that is unique to you. A number that tells you how many men are HeForShe in your country, as well as in the world. So you get 2 numbers. That becomes your ID, ladies and gentlemen. You must keep it. One of these days, when you need a job or a board membership, they will ask you, what is your HeForShe number? I'm just saying. Because we're watching you, so we want the number. And that is why we had the SG being HeForShe number 1, in order to make it genuine and legit. We have about 1 billion women, we estimate, who live with violence. We are looking for 1 billion men to sign up for HeForShe and take the responsibility to create millions of actions that will make the world better, not just for women, but also for themselves. Because women are not charity cases. Women are change makers in their own right. They are leaders of the struggle. And women are offering men an opportunity to be part of an amazing journey that will liberate men and society, and of course, will ensure that women also get their place in the sun. So our call to action today is for you to join this movement and to recruit for us. But it is not about clicking. It is about the action that you take offline once you have clicked. So what we tried to show you today was the different ways in which different people were making this movement live in their communities. And you saw people from different backgrounds. Some of them engage in sports, and through sports, they get to engage in discussions with people they would never otherwise discuss this issue with. Lots of them are engaged in issues that have to do with violence against women. And those who are in leadership positions, such as the 10x10 champions, are changing policies, are changing institutions, and are becoming pathfinders in their own rights that will determine the manner in which, through their own organization, the world can be a better place. In this movement, there is room for everybody. It has to come from the heart, and you have got to take responsibility to make the world change, and you've got to invest your time and your emotions in the struggle, in the way women have done for centuries. So as we thank you tonight, and as I highlight also that this morning, the universities presented their report, which gives us the baseline of the areas in which these 10 universities want to create change. It is in the parity of faculty. It is in the increase of students, women students, in STEM especially, and in other subjects where women are underrepresented. And together also, they agreed to fight violence against women in campuses. And I have asked them to help us create best practice and the minimum and the best conditions as well that should exist in every campus for us to fight violence against women decisively. I'm hoping that through them, we will also recruit hundreds of universities to be part of this initiative. Thank you so much, presidents of university, for this. Our call to action is for you from today to help us increase the people who are participating. Our call to action for you, which is a call to action that was made by Emma 2 years ago, if not now, when? If not you, who? You are the movement. Thirdly, we are asking you, men in this room, to speak up, to be in the forefront of addressing gender stereotype and taking appropriate action. Men must be the ones who say, I will not marry a child, I will not beat up a woman, and I will not accept a paycheck that is bigger than that of my counterpart who's doing the work of same value. Just because she's a woman, she gets paid less. Then we're talking. Leave the money on the table. And of course, we also thank Prime Minister Abe, who has left, as well as Prime Minister Trudeau, who also were here, who came to support and endorse the work that has been done, and the leadership of Finland, who gathers us today for a moment of reflection. They also wanted to make sure that Finland knows that behind the leadership that they've provided as part of this movement, there's many other heads of state who want to be here. And we're sorry that the president of Malawi could not make it. But as you could see in the video, he's really working hard, and he's focusing on ending child marriage as one of the 10 by 10 champions. So thank you so much. Trevor, the party begins now. And thank you so much. This is my homeboy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A taste of home for me. Thank you to everyone for joining us. I'm just going to ask for a few moments. We're going to ask our VIPs to please exit the room. For security reasons, obviously, we need you to exit first. So please, if everyone else would just stay seated. If you stand, you will get tackled. So don't stand now. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for our 10 by 10 champions, thank you so much to our hosts. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. Thank you to the youth. Thank you for those videos that we saw. To everyone else that's here, as Phumzile Malambo said, the cocktails are starting. They will be in the garden, so please do join and chat and talk about everything that you've seen here. And if you can just stay for a few more minutes in your places, please. Just stay where you are. I know that you are tempted. Do not leave. Do not jump up. Just stay where you are. There are many security guards trying to keep people safe. There are heads of state. Please stay where you are. I do not want to be involved in an international incident. We'll just wait for them to exit, and then we're all free to move. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. If you did come in from the public, thank you very much for the press. Thank you to all of you at the top, the people who stood through the show. We appreciate you. I'm Trevor Noah. Good night.